The title of my TEDx talk is Young Africans, You Too Matter, Keep Moving. I would like to dedicate it to Field Marshal Muthoni Wakirima, a stalwart alongside people like Field Marshal Dedan Kimathi, General Matenge, and General China of the Revolutionary Land and Freedom Army of the Kenyan anti-colonial struggle. I was informed this morning by my comrade Paulo Nantuya that she passed away yesterday. Kwaheri kabisa shujaa. Hasta la victoria semper. I turned 55 a week ago on the 29th of August. It was an ordinary day. The sun rose and then set. Then the moon appeared. There was dawn, daybreak, afternoon, evening, and then night, as usual. The day had 24 hours. Each of the hours had 60 minutes, and each minute 60 seconds. Nothing unusual. But for me, it was an unusual day. This was the first birthday since I was 3 years old that I celebrated a birthday not being a pupil, a student, or an employee of big business. It was also the first time since I left university in 1992, 31 years ago, where I studied chemical engineering and lived for 4 years in the famous and unbeatable Katanga Hall, that I observed the anniversary of my birth as a retired man. Katanga Hall was a school of life. Whatever anyone else thought of us, we saw ourselves as the heart of UST, that is, the University of Science and Technology, Kumasi, Ghana. Katanga prepared us both for civilian life and for life in the military. There was always the equivalent of a strategic military operation to plan and execute. Then there was the diplomacy required to manage the aftermath. Little wonder then that my contemporaries and comrades became Air Commodore Albert Ade and Brigadier General K.K. Kumi. They were already war generals in Katanga, even as students. Many others ended up as senior military officers, and Kofi Boachi, who left Katanga the year before I got there, made it to the top echelons of the Ghana police force. I celebrate them all and say what happened in Katanga shall stay in Katanga. It cannot be a random occurrence that all the people I mentioned, even as young undergraduate students, were known, like many Katanga boys, to be passionate, fearless, and deeply strategic in pursuit of social justice on all fronts. At age 55, through all the changing scenes of life, I have come to the conclusion that a life not lived in service to society and loving your neighbor, your fellow human beings, your compatriots, is a life not worth living. It is desirable that we aspire for a better tomorrow for society. 4 days ago, my friend Professor Robert Hinson asked whether I could do this TEDx talk. I readily accepted to do so. I saw it as his birthday gift to his prefect at Achimota School, our alma mater, which I will not stop denouncing, not until it stops parading young teenage Africans to sing songs of gratitude and praise to a racist colonial governor. Young Africans and all young people of the periphery, the third world, the global south, the developing and emerging world, as we are variously referred to. My simple message is, dare to live. Dare to make a difference wherever you find yourself. You can do it. Never fear. Never fear. Never fear. Our revered ancestor, Mwalimu Nyerere, liked to say, reflecting on how far behind we find ourselves, that where others walk, we must run. In the days since my birthday, I watched an inaugural lecture delivered by the Malawian super scholar, Professor Thandika Mkandawire, He used Mwalimu's words as his title. That inaugural lecture triggered deep reflection in me. That led me to rewatch Dr. Martin Luther King's great speech he called Life's Blueprint. We are not where we should be or where we would like to be as a continent. The pervasive mass misery on the continent subs at our collective confidence, leaving many demoralized, dispirited, and disillusioned. Yet, we, who as a result of the back-breaking exertion of the working class and peasants, illiterate farmers, miners, hawkers, commercial drivers, and such people who earn little for very hard and sometimes very dangerous work, got the tax funds and resources that enabled us, today's privileged in society, to get a decent education, have a moral obligation to ensure that our society oozes with shared prosperity and shared dignity. In the search for more liberty, more egalitarian opportunity, and more fraternity in our societies, we must win or die trying. Africa deserves it. So keep moving, young Africans, keep moving. To keep moving meaningfully and purposefully, to make an impact, I suggest 7 things to always remember. 1, remember that we have a right to be here, like all other human beings. That Africans, like all others, are bearers of the image of God, the Imago Dei. Therefore, whatever is good and noble about the human race, all its knowledge, analytical faculties, and high values and principles are yours too. Because you belong to the human race, and nothing that is human is alien to you, as Maya Angelou put it. Your achievements, young Africans, belong to the human race. And the human race's achievements belong to you. 2, in his important book, Motivation and Personality, the psychologist Abraham Maslow, in an age that was less gender aware than now, wrote, "What a man can be, he must be." 3, at whatever you decide is really important to you and apply yourself at those few things. Few, because not many can master all things or too many things. You can be among the best in the world. So reach out for it and keep moving. But remember, you must apply yourself and be willing to work hard. For nothing that is good and endures and is sought after because it is useful can be achieved without hard work and application. Never forget this. Our forebears, in drawing attention to this vivid reality, said, "There is no shortcut to the top of the palm tree." Give your best always at what matters, and then accept the outcome graciously. No one can do more than their very best, but give your best. This life is the real one. It is not a rehearsal. At the few things you choose, seek mastery and take inspiration from that great artist, Pablo Picasso, when he said, "My mother said to me, if you become a soldier, you'll be a general. If you become a monk, you'll end up as the Pope. Instead, I became a painter and wound up as Pablo Picasso." 4, love one another. Celebrate one another. Be happy for one another when things go well. Also be there to encourage each other when honest effort does not go well. For once we remain human, we will all sometimes make mistakes. When mistakes happen, we should learn from them, take corrective action, and then we must keep moving on. We must never allow regret to overwhelm and define us. Keep moving. To love one another, we must necessarily learn to network better and show more solidarity around big ideas. We must get better at forming partnerships, alliances, and coalitions. The 21st century will be led by those who know how to leverage such synergies around big ideas. Again, we must borrow from the wisdom of our forebears when they said, "If all snakes gathered together in one place, which man would dare approach them?" But instead, they go each on its own route, and so fall easy prey to man. These are the lessons Michere Mugo taught with the philosophy of Utu, and Desmond Tutu with the philosophy of Ubuntu. 5. Every single day, wherever we find ourselves, we must believe that we too can make small changes that can eventually add up to others' efforts to make a big difference in securing the long-term health of society. For this reason, we must be involved in the major conversations that will shape our society and future. And then we must take action to bring about the desired changes. 6. None of these can be done without courage. The highly celebrated writer Ngugi wa Thiong'o observed in his book, Wizard of the Crow, that in a land in which there is too much fear, poverty soon descends. That outstanding and high-achieving leader, Deng Xiaoping, stressed always that people who drive change cannot be timid. He used to say, "Leaders must have the courage to touch the backside of the tiger." 7. Choose what you want to focus on, but then focus. There are many distractions in this life. Focus on things that matter. Our revered ancestor, Toni Morrison, the accomplished African-American writer and Nobel Prize winner, gives an example when she said, the very serious function of racism is distraction. It keeps you from doing your work. It keeps you explaining over and over again your reason for being. Somebody says you have no language, and you spend 20 years proving that you do. Somebody says your head isn't shaped properly, so you have scientists working on the fact that it is. Somebody says you have no kingdoms, so you dredge that up. None of this is necessary. There will always be one more thing. Toni Morrison was right. There will always be one more thing. So keep moving, young Africans, keep moving. If we are permitted to expand Christopher Kigo's comments about art, life is not a contest for the popular vote. Make your choices and follow your sincere convictions. These young Africans are my 7 interrelated suggestions for becoming highly effective. Do not just talk them, do them. The distinguished environmental campaigner and Nobel laureate Wangari Maathai had an instructive message for us. The real difference, said Wangari Maathai, is making the commitment to dig a hole, plant a tree, and water it for life. You don't just give speeches. You don't just discuss the problem. You roll up your sleeves and get dirty. That is the only way you will make a difference. In the morning of our journey of independence, 2 of our magnetic and charismatic leaders fired our imaginations with 2 unforgettable independence speeches. Kwame Nkrumah urged us to prove to the world that we were capable of managing our own affairs, that inspiration must return. Lee Kuan Yew was indeed right. Superior achievement breeds respect. Patrice Lumumba, also speaking on Independence Day, said, "We are going to show the world what the black man can do when he works in liberty." He was urging us to take pride in achievement and hard work. Young Africans, we must rediscover that sense of purpose and hunger to excel. My dear friend Maxwell Mondi sent me a quote from Ali ibn Abi Talib. I fell in love with that quote. Though long, it is worth quoting in full. It is called Words on Marble. I tasted all that is sweet, but I found nothing sweeter than good health. And I tasted all that was bitter, but nothing was more bitter than being in need of good people. And I carried both iron and rocks, but nothing was heavier than debt. I discovered, therefore, that life comprises only of 2 days, a day for you and a day against you. So when it is for you, do not be reckless. And when it is against you, be patient. Because both days will expire. If you cannot be a bridge to connect people, then don't be a wall to separate them. If you cannot be a light to brighten people's good deeds, then don't be a pest destroying their crops. If you cannot be a vaccine to give life, don't be a virus to terminate it. If you cannot be a pencil to write anyone's happiness, then try to be a nice eraser to remove their sadness. We can only be each other's keeper. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. ended his seminal speech, Life's Blueprint, by invoking the unforgettable African-American writer Langston Hughes in an indelible and immortal way. If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But whatever happens, young Africans, by all means, keep on moving. A luta continua. Thank you.